Welcome to Antique Dust Pop-Up Podcasts.
Hello and welcome to Antique Dust. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Rob.
And together we are Antique Dust.
Woo!
Woo! Yay! So we have dusted down the 1970s classic TV show Charlie's Angels. Right.
Right. Let's get into this.
I know. In fairness, we watched Heart to Heart, and that was just
Delightful.
gorgeous and delightful and everything.
Loved every minute.
And I've fond memories of Charlie's Angels. And in fairness,
I can remember as a kid being out playing of a weekday evening, and then my mum would come to the back door and shout, "Charlie's Angels is starting,"
and you'd dash him back,
scurrying back in to watch Charlie's Angels.
I don't quite remember it that way because I remember it was on.
I'm a little bit older than you.
Yeah, I remember it being on and the action sequences and everything like that. And I sort of revisited sort of the whole Charlie's Angels fandom when they did the films with Lucy Liu and Drew Barrymore and Cameron Diaz, which I really enjoyed, and they were very snappily edited together.
But very, very different from...
It's very, very... Yeah,
1970s.
Incredibly different. I felt the actors are great. So the episode we watched was the very, very first episode, not the pilot episode.
Not the pilot.
We watched the very first episode that went out. So you've got Farrah Fawcett...
Farrah Fawcett Majors.
You've got Cheryl Ladd and...
No, you don't.
Oh, is that Cheryl Ladd?
No, Jonathan. No, you've got Farrah Fawcett Majors. You've got Jacqueline Smith.
And
you've got Kate Jackson.
Now, we love Kate Jackson because we did Scarecrow Miss King. Kate Jackson, to me, is everything because I think she's very good. She's like the tomboy one.
Yeah, she's a roughy-tufty one.
Yeah.
Jacqueline Smith is kind of like the sophisticated one that would probably went to a finishing school or something. Would probably ride horses and all that kind of stuff. And then you've got Farrah Fawcett Major as Jill Monroe, and she's the girly one.
She's the girly one.
She's the girly one.
No, silly me. But she's like pretty much a card shark.
It turns out.
Yeah, and... So this episode is a little... Well, it's like most Charlie's Angels episode. It starts with a female racing team, and one of the female racers is killed tragically when a car is pushed into... is driven into the sidewall and explodes. It's full of explodium.
Yes, it was made of explodium.
Yes, and the Charlie's Angels have been brought in because I think there's something not quite right with this
whole
race
scenario. There's something up.
And so they ship in Kate Jackson to be the race driver. Where she says, "Oh no, I can't possibly race." Well, she's brilliant behind the wheel, obviously, because she's very studious.
Because she used to be a
race driver, or something like that.
Something like that.
Is it Cheryl Ladd gets sent?
No, Cheryl Ladd isn't in this. She doesn't. She plays Farrah Fawcett Major's sister, and she replaces her in the second series.
Right. Okay. Well, the other one,
Jacqueline Smith
is
sent off to talk to the parents and glean information,
and which that just seems like a bit of a nonsense bit of a plot where it makes her look sensitive and shit.
Yeah, so she's a sensitive one.
And then Farrah
Fawcett Majors, Jill Monroe
goes along with
Bosley,
where Bosley's a travelling religious
person,
minister in a caravan,
and she is his
daughter.
His daughter and his assistant.
So basically, Farrah Fawcett Majors and Kate Jackson are the ones that are dealing with.
Though Jacqueline Smith does turn up.
And works over prick tease with one of the bad guys.
Language, Timothy. Elicits information
by promising to date and pretends to get very drunk. Yes. But doesn't, which is basically is an ashtray which is full of
full of
booze. And it's just, I thought I'd be enthralled, and
were you enthralled?
No. I mean, I think it has its attributes, but I think it was mainly the attributes of the girls, and it was just,
I mean, their physical attributes.
Their physical attributes. The plot was quite wholly and not very wholesome, and there were so many plot holes in the thing. It was entertaining when the girls are together. Then it was very, very entertaining and fun, and it was a bit frivolous, but you can tell it was.
Well, it's not the show that you're going to make as the basis of your PhD, really.
No, it's not. I wonder if anyone has. I mean, someone did their PhD on Eurovision, so there must be someone somewhere that's doing a PhD on Charlie's Angels. The Aaron Spelling Charlie's Angels, but. It was entertaining.
It was hugely popular at the time. Popular.
Because it was a female crime fighters that were hot, that would normally be there as some sort of eye candy, while the boys got roughy tufty over bonnets and everything like that. But you've got these girls that are girly and yet very wily and crime fightering, and they know the way around a gun, they know the way around a car, they know how to play the system.
But it was a bit of jiggle TV, wasn't it?
It was
or TNA TV.
Yeah, and it's a bit dated. You can see why they remade it, and you can see I did watch the films, and I have watched the rebooted film, which probably harps back to a little bit more to the original TV series, but they did remake the TV series as well, and that only went for one series. I did watch a couple of episodes of that, and that it seemed okay, but I think it just didn't really capture. I don't think they cast it right, and it just didn't work. And I think the whole TNA TV. It just doesn't have a place. You know, back in the mid-70s, when I think Charlie's Angels started in 76, if I remember correctly. It went for a good few series, and Charlie's Angels
went to 1981, and there were a few seasons, a few cast changes along the way. And Farrah Fawcett Majors left, and Cheryl Ladd, came along.
Yeah, and but. I think the last TNA TV that really happened and captured the thing was Baywatch, and I think after then it's just died a death. You've got the tomboy. You can have it just doesn't have that audience anymore, and I think people say men used to watch it and ogle and fantasize over the angels, but now they've got soft porn on YouTube or sort of downloads or an OnlyFans account, so they don't really need to create.
Yeah, you don't need Farrah Fawcett jiggling about without a bra on.
And go
to satisfy that particular itch.
No, and because I think most people in the 70s either had a Farrah Fawcett Major poster or the tennis girl scratching a jacksie on the wall. Or boys of a certain age and in sheds.
Well, I certainly didn't.
I had a Buck Rogers one. I think the writing was on the wall then. So, I like Buck Rogers.
I didn't have anything in my walls because I wasn't allowed.
Well, you not allowed that? No. Why would it upset the wallpaper? The flock wallpaper?
Yeah, the blue tack would die. No, it wasn't flock wallpaper. Cheek. I did not have flock wallpaper. So we had wood chip like everyone else.
I mean, I think it was of its time. It did have small amounts of merit, and I think it was the original girl power before the whole Spice Girls created girl power, because previously females hadn't really been as the protagonist, crime fighter-y type of person, and I think it span off a few other series. So
well, I think in a sense it was. You probably won't remember this, but I remember watching Policewoman with Angie Dickinson.
No, is that a bit like Juliet Bravo but sexier?
Yes, I guess. That was almost. I think that was really one of the first female American crime fighting TV TV shows. And I think Policewoman sort of led the way to Charlie's Angels, and I guess later on it got a bit more serious. You've got Cagney and Lacey.
Well, Cagney and Lacey was more of a gritty version, but you had the glam rock and then you had the mumsy one, which was a really good pairing with Cagney and Lacey. But I think because Cagney and Lacey had two different Laces, the blonde one, because you had the woman that in the pilot episode, the woman that was Hot Lips in MASH. She played that one. And then there was another one.
This is Antique Dust from the future. The actress who played the second Christine Cagney was Meg Foster.
And they recast her because she was a bit too butch. Because you had the mumsy one, which was more the sensible shoe one, and you went to have sort of the glam one, and she didn't really glam up well, so they replaced her with the actress that did take
Sharon
over.
Gless.
Yeah. Sharon Gless was brilliant in Queer as Folk as the mother. It was like virtually unrecognisable, but it is the voice.
That's the American version of Queer as Folk.
Yeah, American, yeah, which went for 5 series. But yeah, I think it's definitely of its time, and they have tried to remake it, but I think the need and the appetite for that type of show isn't there anymore. And it was it sounds like a production line. It sounds like all the actors didn't really have a great time on that show.
I think they probably did to start with, but
I think it launchpad a lot of people.
I know that Kate Jackson was unhappy towards the end of her tenure, and she was effectively fired because she created a fuss on set about the poor quality of the script.
But also, I think she was annoyed because she got offered the role for Kramer versus Kramer, a big movie, which was obviously an Oscar-winner movie, and she was told that she couldn't do it because her contract didn't allow it. Well, I'm sure Aaron Spelling should have allowed it, but I think because she was creating a bit of a stink, that he just said no, sod this, and was nasty. He was a big power player because Aaron Spelling, he was the creator of 90210 and
The Love Boat,
and it was
Fantasy Island.
Yeah, and the big shows of the time. He was the producer of it, and his daughter Tori Spelling, she ended up in 90210, although she can't really act very well. Well, she couldn't. I think she's a little bit better now. She's had enough.
Lessons.
She's had enough experience. But he sounded like a bit of a nasty piece of work. But also, Aaron Spelling, he actually cut his daughter Tori out of his will. So his nastiness just really
knows no bounds.
Yeah, I mean,
no bounds.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, Tori set up her own career in her own right, and obviously she had a kick up the arse, or had a push up by having Daddy in the role he was in. But he does sound like he was a bit of a dictator. However, he knew what worked, as in for the audience, and because Charlie's Angels is a bit soft porn in some regards.
Well, I think that's stretching it a little bit.
No, but I don't.
There was a bit of jiggle.
There's a lot of jiggle, and there's a lot of suggestion. And the girls, they never actually do anything sort of graphic or anything like that. But what I love about the show is the opening title sequence.
Once upon a time, there were 3 little girls who went to the police academy.
Yes, and I love that because Heart to Heart, you've got the similar opening sequence when they met. There was murder. And so when you have the Love Boat, you've got like the opening sequence where actually the opening title of the Love Boat, which is really interesting. This is your purser. So they're treating the audience as a guest on the Love Boat. So it was the way they set it up was really, really good because you may never actually watch this series before
or again,
but you're instantly hooked straight in. There is no like, oh, what's happening here? I don't know. Oh, what's happening here? Because it was a very episodic situation, and it was just a lovely setup. And I think it would be really nice if someone with a glam TV show had the similar setup along those lines, which is a bit of a nod because I think they miss the trick with a lot of shows, because a lot of these TV shows nowadays, you have to watch the first few episodes to know what was going on. But sometimes with the opening title sequence where you've got the setup, and you can just, okay, I know what all this is now, and you can just go into and just be sort of have the waves of the story. Just
I always sort of
across.
imagined that the first episode or the pilot episode of Charlie's Angels would actually go into them being recruited, etc. But it doesn't.
The pilot episode doesn't.
Nope, the pilot episode doesn't. It starts with the same opening titles.
Oh,
and they're already seasoned employees of the Townsend Detective Agency.
Ah, right. But I really quite liked the Kate Jackson sort of flirty-gurty with Charlie. You never actually see Charlie. Charlie is the owner of the Townsend sort of detective agency, and you only see the back of him. But he's always got, as I say, in this episode, he had lots of glamorous people around.
So he interacts with the angels purely through a speakerphone.
Yeah,
but you then sometimes see him in he's on the phone, but he's in a jacuzzi, or he's getting a massage, or
there's always some glamorous lady in the
walking up and down his spine.
Yeah, but
of course, it was John Forsyth who was the voice of Charlie.
I think he was the voice of the Charlie's Angels film one as well.
Yes.
So
better known as Blake Carrington.
Oh, God, I used to like the Carringtons. Was it Knots Landing?
Dynasty.
Knots Landing was a spin-off for it. I
No,
always get confused with those.
The Colbys was a spin-off from Dynasty.
Right.
Knots Landing was one of the spin-offs from Dallas.
Oh, which was the one which the first guy that died of AIDS, first big celebrity one. He was in one of them, wasn't he? Was that the spin-off? Was he Blake Carrington? I don't know.
He
Tom. Oh, he was in
Hudson.
Rock Hudson, yeah.
He didn't play Blake Carrington.
Oh, he was in one of
John
those.
Forsyth played Blake Carrington.
okay.
He was the voice.
Okay. But who did Rock Hudson play? Because he was in one of those spin-off shows, but he was looking a lot very.
Well, he was dying of AIDS.
I know, it's very sad, really. But the TV show was it was glam. It was the production. They'd obviously spent money on the production, but they all started to look.
Probably not a huge amount of money.
No, but I think the actors got paid a fair chunk of money, especially as the popularity increased. Because Farrah Fawcett Majors, after the first series, wanted to step down, and it was forced to say, "Well, you can, but you've got to do another 6 episodes over the next 2 series," which so she did guest appearances and things. Wonder what she did after that. I always get confused because I always thought one of the people in that was in the Bionic Woman, but it wasn't, was it?
No, that was Lindsay Wagner.
Yeah,
who was in the Bionic Woman.
Yeah. So, but it's of its time, and it was frothy. It wasn't not entertaining. It was a little bit wallowy in places, and it was a little bit exploitative in other areas. But yeah, it's. I don't think I'd want to watch many more episodes.
No, I think it would be it was an interesting sort of re-watch, but I can't say I would be queuing up to watch much more.
No,
Charlie's Angels,
it's not one of those things where you'd want to buy the box DVD and think, "Oh right, let's watch a whole season of this," and it's just no. It's like, I suppose it's with A-Team. It was good at its time, and Knight Rider. Well, again, there was TV shows where you got the setup at the beginning, where the opening sequence, where you don't actually have to watch the whole lot of it to work out who's what.
And I suppose the thing to bear in mind really is that back then in the dark ages when these shows were being made, we didn't have VCRs. They were, you'd watch an episode, and then the next week you'd watch the next episode, but you'd forgotten what was in there. It wasn't. There's no story arc to these, and that's very, very calculated because you couldn't have story arcs in programs like this because they would then go into syndication and could be shown in any old order. So you definitely didn't want what happens in one episode to refer to what happened in an earlier episode. So it was it was bubblegum television. It was just really throwaway stuff.
And it was entertaining, and I think lots of pubescent teenage boys probably really, really sort of likes it because they probably didn't know why they did, or because they had sexy ladies. But I think it was something where you could talk about and you could share, and you could talk about the attractiveness. And I think it was the haircut, the Farrah Fawcett Major haircut.
Well, that was
it was like the Rachel cut.
Launched a whole range,
variant of hair products. Yeah. Girls' worlds across the country were tousled.
Was it the Farrah Flick?
The Farrah Flick. It was.
Flick.
I think there's only been so many hairstyles that was like Farrah Fawcett, and then you've got the Rachel haircut from Friends, and I think they're the ones which have been. Oh, and I think you also had, what was it, Dempsey and Makepeace, where Makepeace had the blonde bob, which then became the popular thing, and the Purdy cut from the Avengers. So
you're very knowledgeable about haircuts.
I know. I'm
very surprised by that.
Yeah. But anyway, but
so we enjoyed the episode. There wasn't a lot to. There wasn't
much content.
There wasn't a lot to think about.
It was just opportunities to jiggle around and clamber into a car
and play roles. I think that was the thing that every episode was more or less the same. There'd be a crime committed, the angels would go along, and then they would go undercover, and they would be given an opportunity to stretch their acting chops by playing various characters.
Yeah,
almost was always the floozy, the studious one, and the sensitive one, but. Hey-ho.
Oh, what I did find interesting in this, so just before we all sign off, is they had Ma from the Goonies in this episode.
Anne Ramsey.
Yes.
And a very blinking you miss her.
Yeah, blinking you miss her. She's in there because...
But you're definitely recognisable as Anne Ramsey.
Or even the voice, because to divert attention, one of the angels hugs her husband, who's going into a hotel room, and she's. And
then you have that classic comedic setup because he's small and mousy, and then
bald,
and
she's like cuddling him towards the breasts.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, that was lovely.
And then the wife comes classic, and she's big and burly and sort of 2 feet taller than him, and it was Anne Ramsey.
Yeah, she was great. Well, she was on one of her last roles was Throw Mama Off the Train, wasn't it, with Danny DeVito?
That's right.
So yeah, but I think these shows, they did have the star power where they had the guest, the star of the day that appeared in them. It was very much like it's like the A-Team, because the A-Team also had the disguise. They always had Hannibal dressed up as something as like peeling off a moustache or something like that. Yeah. He always the star of that. I always remember there was an A-Team episode with Boy George in it.
There certainly was. I remember that very, very clearly.
I read his biography, and it was quite interesting that he was I think he was either drying out or he was on the wane of drugs or something like that, and he can barely remember it. But what you can remember, he turned up, did the job that he needed to do, and he just said there was so much backfighting. It was more bitchy queening happening between BA, Hannibal, and George Peppard, and what was the one that was in? Oh gosh, Battlestar Galactica. The one that played Starbuck. Dirk Benedict.
Yes, I was going to say Dirk Bogarde. That would have been.
No, I don't think he was an 18. He did a guest star? No.
Was he the one that went down in the hospital trolley downstairs? No.
Was he avoiding the cannon, mate, which was shooting cabbages or something? We should do an A-Team episode.
I suspect we shall.
So anyway, if anyone else has any lovely insights towards Charlie's Angels that we haven't covered in our fully informative and well-researched podcast, please do let us know. We're all on social media platforms at Antique Dust. You can email us at hello@antiquedust.co.uk. But in the meantime, bye-bye from Jonathan.
And this is Rob saying, see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You have been listening to an Antique Dust Pop-Up podcast.